The Boy and the Leopard. Once upon a time, a beautiful boy was born into a small and radiant little home to the most loving of parents. The little boy loved to play with his mother and father and helped them in every way he could. He did all his schoolwork with care and carried within him both gentleness and courage. To those around him, he seemed fearless. Yet, he had few friends, for he was quiet, and much of his time was spent in the vastness of his own imagination. At the park, his parents watched the other children run and shout wildly in play. But their son was not like that. He moved with a grace beyond his years. While others made noise, he would climb trees and quietly gaze upon the world from above. His parents often wondered about why he seemed different. But that didn't affect their love for him. They knew that to be different is not to be less, and they cherished him for all that he was. As the boy grew older, he also felt like he was different. But at the same time, he would feel like he was exactly like everyone else. He just couldn't understand himself. Sometimes he felt protected and safe, like nothing bad could ever happen to him. But at the same time, he felt like he is supposed to be a protector, as if some enemy awaits him round a corner and he has to be vigilant. It perplexed him how he felt opposite things at the same time. Never was he bored, for he loved training in the ancient martial arts. When he grew older, he asked his parents if he could formally train as a samurai at the temple. His parents fell silent. In their hearts, they questioned, who in this age needs the art of the sword? What use is combat in a world like ours? What will he do with this knowledge? Despite their apprehensions, love prevailed. They agreed, for they had always promised him their support. When his training began, he discovered that fighting was never really about defeating someone else. The true battle was always within, against your own fear, anger, doubt, and weakness. Every stance, every strike, every breath was a lesson in discipline. With practice, he learned that the path of a true warrior was to learn to weave the body and mind into harmony. Strength was not for conquering others, but for transforming your own self. And so, he learned to meditate. In stillness, he found a way to gather everything, the mind, body, heart, and soul. He loved the silence of night when the world slept. And as he progressed, he started to feel energy everywhere. He felt like he was made of energy. He felt beams of light, one rooting him deep into the earth, another rising through his crown into the heavens. Around him pulsed a luminous sphere of energy, and in time he felt another presence, a spirit, unseen yet near, as if a wise friend or hidden teacher was always beside him. Then one night, as he meditated, he felt an opening in his chest. Not in any way that could be described, but in a way that allowed him to hear more, see more, and feel more. In that moment, something magical happened. A silver light gathered before him, and from it emerged a most beautiful and majestic leopard. The boy knew at once this was the presence he had felt all along. This was his oldest companion. He felt no fear. Instead, a strange knowing arose. He himself was the leopard. Yet, he was not fully the leopard. This being was his protector, his guide, and perhaps the one he was destined to become. He could see the leopard was his higher self. The leopard knew everything about him, and more, carrying within it all the wisdom he had yet to discover. And so he knew the journey before him was to walk beside this teacher. His time at the temple came to an end. He bowed to his masters and followed the leopard. The leopard took him to the city. The boy marveled at its restless energy. People moving fast, chasing, building, striving, everyone seeking something. He felt he did not belong here in the city, where people live close together but were still far from each other. Sometimes they would hurt each other, and sometimes wound themselves. Old and young, rich and poor, they were all connected, and yet couldn't even see it. Beyond the city, the leopard brought him to the edge of the land. He stood before ocean cliffs, breathed the fragrant winds, and watched sunsets written in fire across the sky. Trees bent toward him as if to whisper blessings or to kiss his face. The energy of nature calmed him deeply. Yet, he couldn't stop feeling small and out of place. He felt like he didn't belong here either. The earth needed nothing of him. He was in awe of the land, but knew he had to go on. In time, the leopard led him to a sacred monastery, where he sat by a still pool to reflect. Here, the truth unfolded. He was everything. He was the human collective, the city, and he was also a beautiful note in nature's grand symphony. The leopard leapt into the air and burnt bright with light, soaring above the pool as though opening a portal. The boy suddenly heard a whisper which he knew was at the root of his wandering. You are unseen, unworthy, unloved. But where was this coming from? Suddenly appeared in front of him the answer. Out of his reflection in the pool arose his dark self. It mocked him and told him he will live a life of wanting but never having, a life of seeking but never finding, a life of wandering but never being. It was his soul's deepest fear. The boy unsheathed his sword to face this darkness which had quietly grown inside him. The battle was fierce. Every strike met its equal. He realized he was fighting a force equal to his own strength, his own skill. How could he defeat something equally matched to him? Just as despair arose, the boy remembered he was the leopard. Inside him was his higher self, and it was everything he needed to overcome his enemy. The more he could feel the leopard's presence inside him, the more his strikes found precision, the more his defenses found grace. His vision cleared. At last, the shadow fell, kneeling down before him. As the boy stood over his enemy, the dark figure started to dissolve into smoke. In that moment, love broke through him. Love for himself, love for humanity, and love for all of nature. It had always only been clouded by pain and confusion. As he felt the smoke rise from himself, he felt himself transform. Now the samurai was complete and in balance. He saw the whole world in harmony, the city and the country, the pauper and the prince, the distraught and peaceful. He continued to travel and spent his days with people from places far and wide. He belonged everywhere, loved every place, and was of service to everyone. The truest warrior protects with presence, with awareness, and with agility, and he had mastered all three. His purpose was renewed with every sunrise. Returning to the city, he found his harbor. He saw that the city needed him most. He embraced his family again. He fell in love, and he discovered the beauty of ordinary life. When a child was born to him and his beloved, he realized there was no greater miracle than life itself. His presence was shelter, his work was devotion, and his life was service. And he knew he could not have walked this path without the leopard, the one who had walked beside him since birth, and who would remain until the day he returned to the eternal.